Does it ever happen to you that you're staring at a blank Ableton project and you're stuck with no inspiration? Well, with Ableton 12's new MIDI tools, you have no more excuses. There are 4 tools that will generate notes based on various algorithms, and there are 8 tools that will manipulate those existing notes in different ways. So, my main question is, can this replace any of your sequencers? So this is how it looks when you open a new MIDI clip. The 4 MIDI generators are in the bottom tab and the 8 transformers are in this tab. Let's start with rhythm. The rhythm MIDI tool generates a note pattern according to a set parameters. The key of my track is in G sharp. You can set different patterns. You can set the density of the notes, how many notes will be generated, and the steps. We can also change the step duration. Let's increase it to 16th. Let's decrease the step duration to 4th. The splits add a probability for splitting a note in half. This tool is cool, but for me there is a better way to generate a sequence like this. The seed MIDI tool randomly generates notes within specified pitch, length, and velocity ranges. Let's set our pitch to be on G sharp 1 only. Let's set the duration between 32 to 8 notes, and let's increase the density a bit so we have more notes in the sequence. And we can press generate a couple of times until we have something cool. I quite like the first part, so let's loop this. Always make sure to duplicate the MIDI clip and then you can come up with new ideas. We can also use the seed on drum racks. As you can see, the seed is recognizing the different hits we have in the drum rack. Let's set the duration to 16th. Let's increase the density. Perhaps we can loop this section. Here's a really cool trick with the velocity in Ableton 12. Let's highlight these notes and then we can use these 2 sliders to add a ramp. So let's take this slider almost all the way down and we will take this slider almost all the way up. So now the velocity is ramped up. We can also use the seed to generate melodies. Let's decrease the voices to 1 and let's decrease the density a bit. I set the pitch from G1 to G3 and let's set the duration from 8th to 16th. Maybe we can loop one section to try find some notes that we like. You can always generate new notes with this arrow. How marvelous. Shape generates sequence of notes based on specific shape and length. And this is one of my favorite ways to create melodies. So you can choose different shapes such as up, down, or many more. Let's stay with up. The rate is set to grid. It means it will follow the rate of our MIDI clip. Tie will add probability for the note length, and jitter will add probability for the position. How delightful. You can also draw your own shape and then notice how the notes move on the MIDI clip. Next one is stacks. This tool allows you to create chord progressions. So let's start by generating one chord. You can increase the amount of chords with the plus button. So let's add another 3 chords. We can add notes, move them around, add inversions, and so on. To make this sound, I used Meld, which is a new synthesizer and it's absolutely sick. Let's see how we can manipulate these chords further. Let's close the Generate tab and open the Transform. Let's start by changing the rate to 16th. we can decrease the distance by scale degree. Let's keep it on 2. We can choose between different styles of arpeggiators. These are the exact same styles you have in the arpeggiator MIDI effect, which you're all quite familiar with. The next one is connect. The connect generates new notes that fill in the gaps between existing notes. The placement of the new notes is randomized, but some notes of the pattern can be determined using the different parameters. So I have here a very simple sequence. Let's start by pressing generate. Let's decrease the density and have a listen. Nothing interesting. Changing the tie will randomize the length of these notes. The spread parameter will spread the notes in scale degree. Let's play with the tie a bit more. Maybe let's just loop this part. Another great tool to come up with some random melodies. But it's important to remember, save these patterns and edit them to fit your musical style. The next one is Ornament. These adds flam and grace notes. Flam will add a single note in the beginning of your selected note. Grace will add multiple notes with equal length in the beginning of your note. We can decide if we want them to be in the same pitch, higher or lower. We can change their velocity. We can even change their position, such as moving them backwards or forward. We can set a probability for the notes to be played, and we can set the amount of notes that will be added. The Quantize transformer is really good if you're recording notes from your keyboard and they're not exactly on time. Since I don't have a keyboard, I will let you figure it out. It's a pretty simple concept. Let's go back to the melody we created before. And let's use the Recombine to shuffle these notes. So you can just click anywhere here and it will shuffle the notes. You can determine if you want the pitch to be shuffled, the length, and the velocity. Let's just shuffle the length. This is a great tool to come up with variations for your melodies. The span MIDI tool transforms the duration of selected notes. Let's take this melody and we will use the span to create some note length variations. The span has 3 options: legato, tenuto, and staccato. And this is just a starting point for creating variations for your notes. So tenuto will kind of be somewhere in the middle. We can offset the notes, make them a bit shorter, and add some variations. Let's add them both back to 0, and let's go with a staccato. The starting point here will be much shorter. Let's add a bit of variation, and maybe we can even offset them to make them a bit longer. The legato will make the notes as long as possible. There are 2 more tools that I want to show you, and few MIDI shortcuts editing that you have to know. Let's take the first chord from the chord progression we generated before and add it on this guitar sound. We can use Strum to make this a bit more realistic. Or you can do it the other way around. Now this guitar chord sounds like someone is actually playing it. Let's go back to our drum rack and let's create a 16th note simple pattern with our shaker. The time warp tool allows you to stretch MIDI notes. Let's make it go from small to big. Let's do it the other way around. There are a few new MIDI shortcuts that you absolutely have to know. The first one is Ctrl or Command E to slice a MIDI note according to the grid. The next is Option or Ctrl E and then drag up or down to divide the note into its equal parts. Let's take these 2 notes and press Command J to consolidate them. let's select all of these 4 notes, and then if you press Command Shift A, you can select all the rest of the notes in the clip, and vice versa. If we go to the Time and Pitch tab, we can add an interval based on a scale degree. And you can obviously add several of those. And I can take these notes and I can stretch them as well. Let's make them longer or make them really short. So both the transformers and the generator tools are great for coming up with new ideas and eliminating creative blocks. But now you need a really cool synthesizer to practice all of this. So make sure to watch this video about Meld. Thanks for watching this video and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.